Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest Podcast. This is your boy, HSR.
This is your boy, Chris Chrome.
This is your lady friend, Bonnie.
And before we jump up into the review, let's do the little housekeeping portion. So for all of you who are new here, we are not maybe the most astute hip-hop heads. We are folk on a journey to listen to these albums, learn, and kind of understand and go through them together. We talk about them track by track, have a little discussion, talk about our favorite parts, and move through the album, then give a little summary at the end.
Or like explorers or like anthropologists.
Exactly, through these different classics that we talk about, alleged classics, and we don't know until we're done, you know? So yeah, just to give you a little shout out to Mozart, and Linda Williams, our patrons at the beginning, because they're awesome people and are showing some love. So if you want to see a particular album, you can request it below, and we're going to get to it, and that's kind of democratic. The more votes an album gets, the more time, the likely we're going to actually do it. But if you want to do some obscure album, the request raffle might interest you. You can check that out on Patreon. You also get access to the videos early and some other stuff that we're going to be cooking up soon. And to show that we actually do care about y'all, we like to read our favorite comment off of last week's video. This is from the Notorious B.I.G.'s
It's a doozy.
Life After Death. Super old school 1994 said this, and this is one of my favorite kinds of comments to get, the facts ones where you learn some shit.
Super meaty with all the information.
So he said, listening to this at work and I'm enjoying it. Thank you, buddy. I'm Kick in the Door has a story behind the song as well. It's actually a subliminal diss towards DJ Premier, the producer of the beat, and Jeru the Damager, an MC, part of DJ Premier's Gangstar Foundation. Jeru the Damager has a song called One Way on his 1996 Wrath of the Math album, classic album, by the way. Maybe we'll have to check that out. In the song, Jeru talks about how hip-hop was changing for the worse because it got more corporate. And in one song, Jeru takes shots at Puffy and the Bad Boy label, claiming that they're the reason that hip-hop's changed to be more flashy and less about the streets. So naturally, Biggie wanted to get at Jeru on Kicking the Door, and DJ Premier happened to get caught in the crossfire as a byproduct. The line where Biggie says, "I'm surprised you run with them," was directed at DJ Premier, and when Premier heard that line, he stopped the recording and got hostile towards everyone in the studio because he basically got subliminally dissed and everyone knew. Biggie did not apologize for it, and DJ Premier was a good sport about it, so let the line go. There's a little more to it, and DJ Premier talks about it better than I did. Great review, guys. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks so much.
Really appreciate that. It was like I was thinking it was almost 3 hours because there was a lot of songs on that Biggie album, and we went through all of them.
Biggie.
So just to let you know, we also just finished our Grand to 1,000 subscribers contest where we gave away some Amazon gift cards and we gave away some album reviews. And I think it's a good time to just introduce this week's album, Chris. Why don't you just take care of that?
Well, for this week's album, we went with MF Doom's Born Like This.
Not to be confused with Lady Gaga, Born This Way.
That's true. But this was the chosen request of our $100 Amazon gift card winner, Fluent Truent. So he wanted this album. We're doing that. Next week, we'll be doing the $50 prize-winning album chosen by Gio. And a couple weeks back, we did the $25 prize-winning album, which was The Last Emperor's The Legend of Bigfoot. And we'll have a new contest announced soon. So if you do dig what we do, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment contributing. We might read it. We might answer all of them, and then good times. So I think it's a good time to contextualize ourselves. I think at this point we can say a little bit we're not strangers to MF Doom.
Yeah.
We've already covered 2 albums, Food and Mad Villainy.
Yes.
Actually 3, because we did Czarface meets Metalface too
true.
on the Headspace.
So that would be the most recent one. So over the course of this little talking, you'll see them various pops up if you want to check it out. So basically,
if you are new
and I think our knowledge about MF Doom and how, I mean, at least how I perceive him has changed and maybe has developed, I guess.
Absolutely. We started with Food, and
that was the first time we'd ever heard anything like that.
And yeah, it was very lyrical, And as y'all are aware, MF Doom is a little bit dense and sometimes so obscure that even the fans aren't necessarily sure what he means. But we tried so hard to wrap our heads around it, and we may have embarrassed ourselves a little bit. But based on the like to dislike ratio, y'all were like 50-50, with a little bit more of you liking it than hating it.
Yay.
Thank you
So
once again.
it was polarizing. It's nice. It's in our top 10 most viewed video, so that was cool. A lot of y'all said Mad Villainy, or Mad Villains, Mad Villainy.
Mad Villainy, I
Right.
think.
Would be a little bit easier to digest. So we went there. We did that. It was a little bit easier to digest, but we'd also put about 6 more months into reviewing albums, a lot more Wu-Tang
exposure.
stuff, and we kind of, I think, had a bit of an easier time. I enjoyed the album more because I felt it was just easier to digest at that point in time.
Which album, Mad Villainy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm certain that
I
if
think
we...
it was also like the fact that you've had like some exposure to
Yeah.
it, and like you kind of know what was going on. You knew more like what it was going to be going into it.
And we had all the comments from the other video that I got to read with some educational nuggets. But I think in general, it's just... I learned to kind of take a step back and listen to stuff like how he rhymes words better, or care a little bit less about every word he's saying and try to find the meaning in the song and more look at the product of what it is a little bit more. But anyway, so we just had that. And then MF Doom and Sourface dropped their project in 2018, so a little bit time back, which Chris and I did, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't think Bonnie was there.
Headspace.
And I don't know, that was cool. That was a fun time. I enjoyed that project. And yeah, so I'm not going to say like I'm the most knowledgeable Doom scholar. I feel like we're super ignorant. There's still a lot of projects to go through. And even to that end, I haven't listened to any of these projects enough to even really unravel the secrets of Doom. So this is a little bit more of a first impression for me. Like, I've listened to it a few times, but, you know, I feel like it
for
would
all of
take
us,
like
it would still be a
15,
first
20 listens to a Doom album before I'd really be able to appreciate every nuance of why it's great, which is something I can appreciate, because not a lot of artists maybe can be that deep with it and that obscure with it in the way he puts it together. So I kind of have come to really respect him. I was kind of happy that our hand was forced towards MF Doom. It's not the worst thing, is all I'm saying. I don't know.
Nice.
You guys have more to add here before we talk about this album title and this album cover?
Nope, not really.
So, fun fact, this was actually a Doom project, as I saw. It's not actually MF Doom. I don't know what it says on Wikipedia there. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read that this one was not released with the MF. It was just released with the Doom moniker. And I might be wrong. Y'all can correct me if I am. I know on all the Spotifys it's under the MF Doom because that's the main artist, but I understand he also has like 15 pseudo subnames and all these other such things.
Hard to keep track.
Yeah.
Maladies.
If y'all know a website that kind of has the lore of MF Doom wrapped up in like a kind of, I could read it out like a story, I would be personally super interested in that. And if you do, thank you. Comment, people. Anyway, you got Doom's mask on the right. You got like a tablet, like a stone.
Hieroglyphs or something.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like in Stargate when they would find cultures in alien languages and Daniel Jackson would have to decipher it. But you have Doom kind of staring at it like he's about to decipher it. And you get the sense that whatever we're about to hear is some master thing that he's uncovered from this tablet of ancientness, you know?
But I think like he's not looking at it necessarily. I think that they've uncovered his mask. Like, you know, like that
maybe.
they've kind of like discovered him, and like, you know, it's sort of, I don't know. Like it just seems like, you know, like an architectural archaeological can't say that word.
Archaeological
Wow,
discovery.
can't say that word.
Archaeological.
But that one. So yeah, it's something like that for me. It kind of looks like, you know, remnants of like some sort of ancient, you know, colony or something.
I kind of tie it into the title Born Like This. I think I look at this and I think back to like ancient ruins, origins, where he came from, like a lot about like the character of Doom or MF Doom, or even in part of like I would look at the scriptures on the side as like a story or like a beginning of a story or something like that.
Okay.
And then the mask is like it's the character that we know, but you could also be like the origins of the person behind the mask. Because all we ever see is the mask. We never really go beyond more further than that. So.
And also like the fact I think that it shows that maybe he won't live on, but his mask will live on, and like there will always be like a part of him that will like exist, and like I think that's
that'd be
what
like
he's
the
saying
characters,
in
right?
his music.
I really like what you said there. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I get that. And then maybe the power is in the mask or something was something I started picturing as you guys were talking. Like, it is the story. Like, the mask creates the story almost. When he puts it on, it's almost like he was just born like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess we could hear about a Supervillain intro.
Let's do it.
Part of all. I'm working for the biggest group of villains.
Christopher has requested that Bonnie speak first. Please,
Okay.
start us off.
Well,
lady.
We have a very short introduction. It's 55 seconds. And we kind of get the usual weirdness that is MF Doom. We have like the like the cartoons or like the old-timey voices or whatever is going on. Although these ones like felt like underwhelming to me. Like it didn't feel like as like poignant and like hard hitting as like maybe some of his other stuff has been. So like it felt a little bit like on the weak side of things for me. But basically what's being said is that he is part of a group of villains who all work for the Supervillain. And I'm guessing that's him. Like I wasn't really sure. And it ends with time to get some feta. So I'm guessing that that's slang for like time to make some money and like do this thing and like get started. So, I mean, it was fine. But like I said, for me, it just felt, maybe now that I've listened to him, it felt a little bit lackluster. So I gave it a 3 on 5.
I just got my point of view on it a little bit, just in response to that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that it was the dude from De La Soul, Posdnuos, whatever his name is, who was the one who was actually talking here, and I might be wrong. I know I wrote it down in the comments in the description, but I don't have it on my phone. But also the beats co-produced with Mr. Chop. But what I took it as is you got the little part where it's like, the little build up a beat and the kind of
like the intro to
like all of his other stuff we've heard, but where he's like kind of cutting some old timey shit in. But then, it's almost like this album's kind of presenting the context. Like I guess in this like storyline, Doom's established now at this point. He's not really like the guy on the come up. So even in his little world, he is the main supervillain. So here we have one of his henchmen kind of talking, and he goes like, looks like I hit the jackpot. Supervillain! That's the best part of all. I'm working for the biggest group of villains this world has ever known. We're led by the man himself, the supervillain. And here we have, I believe, Posdnuos, whatever. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. He's kind of like referring to Doom as like the main supervillain with the main mind, and he's got the super big plan that's gonna kind of help them all get the money, which is kind of what the premise is being put down right at the beginning of this, and that's the quest. And Doom has got the plan, and he's validating that like whatever. And then I think in real life here he's kind of like a feature of a reputable rapper coming on Doom's project saying I validate Doom's like presence in hip hop in 2009, which is definitely an interesting time for I guess a rapper like Doom.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned that this album came out on March 24th, 2009.
And because that's relevant later on. There's one song in specific, but I didn't enjoy the sound of it quite as much. Like I kind of like the intro build up, the music that was used, but once it kind of started talking and stuff, I kind of liked the way he used all of the samples in the previous projects to kind of have the effect that was used with the feature here. It was a little lackluster to me, I guess. I don't know. There are other better songs on here. The intro, I've heard some really great ones lately, I feel. And this one, I don't know, 3.5 on 5. It's not boring or anything, but I could do without it.
Okay. I actually enjoyed the intro. I think that you guys covered the plot of it really well. It's just a simple introducing Doom, introducing the supervillain. We got a crew of villains that are going to be taking over, making that money, making movements. But what I liked about it was the actual sound. It sounded like 2009 cartoons. Like when I listen to the older MF Doom albums, I feel like of when they were released in the comics the comic book like the cartoons and the shows, that sound, that type of feel, those intros, it's suit for that time. So for 2009, I feel like it was kind of like for that era. So that was cool. I enjoyed the intro to the cinematic intro that he creates on this album, on this intro. really sets up the mood of the album. Got me captivated and wanted to listen to him more. I'm okay with listening to this song starting the album. Individually, I don't really think I'd go back to it just like that, but I gave it a 4.
All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about how I'm a Gazziliion Ear.
All right.
You want a cop a quarter ton run for the border? Know the drill. It ain't worth the overkill flows.
Hey, Christopher, how do you feel about Gazziliion Ear featuring some production work from Mr. J Dilla?
I love it. I love the production work J Dilla did on this instrumental. It is one of the sickest beats I've heard so far. It's got these nice loops. It's got this nice little chant in the background on the first verse. The transition to the second verse is like it's not choppy. It's not so sudden. It's a nice smooth, like it goes right in. It was great for the instrumental itself was absolutely great. The verses, they were good. There was I felt like Doom had the first verse was kind of like braggadocious, talking about how he's the best and what he's doing, kind of like having this like I'm top captain supervillain type feel to it. And then on verse 2, when the beat switches, I feel like Doom gets a little bit more like serious about it, more kind of direct. He's having a conversation with somebody trying to influence, or not influence, but like take charge in a matter of words. I like when he said, used to keep a full stock of work, half rocked and half shake. My mistake. Sign a track agreement for more G's than lines and crack in the cement. And I like how he made a clever connection to selling drugs on the street and then being able to like sign to a record label or a music label to get out of that problem. And he was like, the way I understood the line was like, I used to think this is how we make money. My mistake. This is how we make money, and we're gonna make money by making this type of music, and we're gonna do our own things and be creative. So that was really cool. Overall, I think I gave it a 4.5. I think it was a really, really great first actual song on the album.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the fact that he basically like starts rapping as soon as the song starts. Like I don't even think it's like a second in, like, and he's like already talking. Like there's no intro. Like there's clearly he has something to say, and like he doesn't want to wait. Like he just doesn't waste like a second of his songs, which I appreciate. So this is basically about him, like how he sold crack and how it made him a shit ton of money, and that's that he loves it for that. But he doesn't indulge in crack himself. I also just wanted to say that I feel like I'm listening to MF Doom better and differently, like after like maybe just listening to like many other albums and like being exposed to him and like the lyrical breakdowns. Like I feel like I listen to things and I look for things differently. So I think that that's, kind of interesting. And I think that I appreciate more his artwork. And I don't think that he's just like, bleh, anymore. But he's never going to be my favorite. Let's just say that.
Get the honesty out there now.
Yeah, like I'm not like a big like fan of his sound. So probably my marks overall are going to be a little bit lower. Just a heads up. Anyways, so he makes reference to like a lot of random things, a lot of random people. Like he referenced Ernest going to camp, like, which I don't think anybody now would know what that is or who, know those movies. He talks about that his hair doesn't grow right. I appreciate his use of time on this one. And like he wastes like none of like the last like 10 seconds of the song, and he does his usual cartoony stuff, which I'll say again, like it doesn't feel like it feels more tame and like less in your face as much as his other stuff. But I mean, we'll see if that changes. So I gave it a 4 on 5.
Yeah. So I kind of have to say my first thought was, if I was to think about this the way Chris normally thinks about this, the album's kind of going to be like a movie. So we just got the idea that he has the master plan, and this is Doom kind of telling you what the master plan really is going to be. How we, the Supervillain squad, will become Gazziliion Ears, which is
Gazillionaires.
which is just a lot of fucking money. So I feel like the point of this song is to kind of convey through the Doom way that he's in this for the money and he's back, but he's particularly like flipping it up again. Like he's trying to like show you that he has a new style or something that he's coming with.
Right.
Production-wise, it's kind of like there's 3 parts. There's the intro part, which I think is Doom's, and then it flips into a J Dilla bit, and then it flipped back to Doom, but I may be wrong, or it's all J Dilla. I don't know, but it's all sick, man. This is one of the nicest beats, honestly. I think I've also heard. It's just the way it flips up too. He's like, basically like, oh, I'm gonna get all this Skrilla and share it with, and then Dilla, and then the Dilla beat just kicks in and just flows so perfectly.
Well, that's like there's like a little interlude type part because that's when the second verse will hit and it changes.
Right, and I think
it's all Dilla. It's all Dilla.
Okay.
The whole verse 1, starting the intro to the end, it's all J Dilla who produced it.
But yeah, so I think this one was the one that was flipping off of the song Donuts by J Dilla, but I might be wrong. I know something on this album touched that song by Dilla. Ultimately, though, the rhyming here is where it really just shines. Like, I could just pick a part of the verse and start saying stuff, and the rhyming is insane. Like, he rests when he ashes, ask him after 10 miles, his galoshes, smashes, stashes, chip on the shoulder with a slip on a holster, a clip, a folder, and a grip on a boulder bolster. And it's like, I don't know that I can properly, like, interpret what the fuck he's talking about here. I feel like it's a little bit just grandiose, like over the top, like the most obscure fucking possible way that Doom can come in and talk about, you know, I don't really know what he's going for with this little part here. I just know it sounds really cool. And I feel like, if I try to analyze it a bit, it's like, you know, somebody who's not really putting in the same level of effort and is kind of frustrated and grumpy with Doom over the situation. But then I also just took a random snippet. I liked when he's like, the best ballers pitch in and rub to get a nickels. Like, you just picture, like, the realest people, the people in it for the hardest, will do the grimiest and dirtiest shit, making any, like, fucking quick money possible to make it happen. But tut, he about to change the price again and go up each time he blow up like hydrogen. So it's like his music and his power is so influential that it comes in and like changes the game. And it's also like he's got like lines like flow slow as Mongo, Don Juan Thong Pro. Flow slow as Mongo, Don Juan Thong Pro. Like, that's a sick line, just to be able to pull that off and make it kind of whatever work. Like, I feel like the rhyming scheme is a little bit more important than the actual lyrics being used, but yet he somehow still managed to convey this deep poetry with it. But yeah, for info, when he's not practicing Jim Crow or actress in on some nympho bimbo. And that is the most convoluted way I've ever heard of somebody saying, like, being a fake person playing the white man's game, I think, or like, going after it, that I've ever heard. It's so, like, out there. And I guess the more educated I become on some of the words being used in general, it becomes easier to understand Doom. But he just goes on for days. Like, I also really like, get him like Jake the Snake on mescalines, because he made wrestling puns again. 5 on 5 to me, I could really probably say that I could go through this one day line by line and just break it down, and there isn't really any part of this lyrical barrage that I find boring.
Nice.
The way he rhymes is intoxicating. It's like just he comes up with ways to put sounds together where it almost breaks your brain, almost, the fact that he can keep these flows coming, and the way he just pivots out of nowhere and just punches you in the face again. It's just worth noting how fucking interesting that is. Anyway, that's what I got to say about that. That is one of the coolest Doom songs I've heard so far. Let's talk about Ballskin.
To call the whole crowd out is just a few chumps, and you know who you are like a shout out.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about Ballskin?
What?
Serious questions here on Classic Quest.
Bonnie's like, you broke the order again. My turn. Okay, go.
Yeah, I think this is basically just about the truth. It's a short song. It's 1:30. This is just like, there's nothing truer than his Ballskin. I think that's basically what he's saying. So I think that this is interesting. I do like his, like, you know, quick coming and going that he does. He's clearly like an efficient rapper. And people who waste his time can basically suck on his Ballskin, I think is what he's saying. So it was interesting. I gave it a 4 on 5.
I think the Ballskin part is a reference to just like that there's no stopping him. There's no wall that can stop him. It's so thin that the line is so thin between him and other rappers, him and other MCs. Like,
are you implying that the skin of your testicles is thin, therefore the barrier that is stopping?
That's what I understood the way,
I'm
because
not-
I feel
hold
like
on.
he's attacking other MCs.
For once,
on
I'm
this.
really not hating on you. I just felt that was worth clarifying because, okay, I'm not hating. This was not negative. I just wanted to understand if that's what you meant because that's interesting. Keep going.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
No, but you just had your theory of busting through. MF Doom is busting through the testicle skin.
No. What I'm trying to say is that what I understood is that like he's basically praising himself again with wordplay, being a dope lyricist, a good rapper, and he's basically calling out other MCs, saying that like you're not better than me and whatnot. And then I kind of feel like he was. I didn't quote the last part, but like there was something about like the wall is thin, genuine Ballskin. And I felt like
You might be on to something.
I feel like he was like the line is thin between the wall is thin between me and other rappers because I keep bursting through and kicking all your asses and being the supervillain that I am. And just to also think, if we're thinking of it as a movie and stuff like that, supervillain characters are kind of always weird, quirky, wonky, and like whack as fuck. So the Ballskin reference wouldn't really be abnormal in this universe.
Not hating it, Chris.
As well. I like when he goes all big letters but isn't no acronym. MF Doom is all capitals. That was really cool. And it
Just like the song All Caps.
right. I also like when he went turn a man into a mannequin for Afflecken. He basically used a commercial for a TV that has a duck that keeps going Affleck. Every time there's like a hole that busts through this boat thing and it's like an insurance company.
Yep.
It made me laugh because I was like, wow, he's the duck technically quacks. And I've heard people go, you kept quacking. And then he was like, I'm going to change that to an actual commercial title. And that was just, I found that
I
to be
think
very
it's a goose,
cool.
actually, isn't it?
Whatever, like quacking bird, and then that's it. Okay, the point is, it was great. It was fantastic.
Maybe it's a duck. I don't know.
I gave it a 4 on 5. His lyricism and the way he spits it is just incredible.
So I felt like right away we're going to see a couple of things happen here. The production quality changes a little bit track to track, so my enjoyment of the song is often highly correlated to the production quality that it comes in, both on the vocals of MF Doom and I guess like how it was recorded and the beat itself. So Doom comes in and he just follows through and drops great lines like lacking swing, but the banjo's so relaxing as the axe spin, hacking axes into wind, pretend it's just a pin, see if you can pencil him in. Now that one was so fucking cool, right? Because he's like, you know, the axe swing and all that's like really just like the pen. So when he's rhyming, he's like really just like an axe chopping motherfuckers up and shit. And then so he's like, or like he's pretending that when the pencil him in, he's just using that as a crazy metaphor for how he's gonna murder you with the lyrical onslaughts. And honestly, that was so fucking dope to me. But the beat was not as dope to me. It just kind of was a little bit less fun. I felt it to be like it wasn't a bad beat. But it was one of those like ones that comes on, just is okay. Doom raps, and you're like, I'm here for Doom, and then you bounce out, and you're like, okay. And that was my feelings on the beat. It just really did nothing to hook me in.
I see that.
But like the lyrics were still fire. Like not to call it the whole crowd. It's just a few chumps, and you know who you are. Like a shout out. That's an amazing way to like tell people that you know who you are. I don't have to say your fucking name, but to use like something like how normally rappers would shout out their friends or something on a track and kind of like make it and imply it like that's your shout out. Like it's just clever as fuck, you know?
Well, it's even taking it deeper. Usually a shout out is somebody you're paying respect to, like for helping you out, for helping you accomplish your goals. So it's like he's even taking it to like I don't need to respect you like a shout out either.
Yeah. And then, like, place them in your loud mouth and taste them like a pastry. Waste the space, face hastily, bow out gracefully.
Hey.
And that's like the follow-up. So it's like pointing out that the way the people throw people's names around is almost just shows that the fact that they do that in and of itself just shows how useless they fucking are, is how I kind of took that. It's just really clever shit, you know? And it just, the song kind of flows out. It's a 4.25 on me. for me. I don't really know how else to approach Doom except to look at him and go, those are the parts I thought were the most amazing in the song, because he's consistently freaking solid.
Yes, sir.
8 carats of glass, the Aston, blueberry black, where I keep my ices and knives at one of the fours.
I just gotta say that production comment on the last song, oh, this one is fire. This is a
nice.
good and fun beat and experience. But Bonnie, how did you feel about this song?
Well, historically, I have not been the biggest fan of Raekwon.
Chef.
But I mean, this is really solid. Like, it's a really solid intro. I really like this one. I enjoy Raekwon on this one. He has a great flow. And he's giving like Doom some like props. He's like touching on some tragic like world disasters at the time that were going on, which is interesting. You know, it's showing that like, you know, we should care about these kinds of things. You know, I think that's an important thing. I know it says it's featuring Raekwon, but it's basically all Raekwon with like some Doom cartoon stuff at the end.
Well, Doom made the beat, and I was thinking about it, like, that counts. Like, he produced the song. Like, if an EDM guy doesn't have to have vocals but still gets the artist credit, it's a fair thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's like I said, there's a hostage thing or cartoon, whatever is going on at the end. And I like this one, and I'm kind of surprised by that. So I give it a 4.5 on 5.
Okay. To just explain a little bit about the cartoon thing at the end, like you explained it. This is part 1 of a 3-part episode, is what I'm going to call it, or a 3-part scene in this movie. Raekwon is playing a supervillain who is part of the supervillain group. He's villain. I'm going to call him villain number 2. We haven't seen anybody else yet, really.
Yeah, the intro guy. So he's villain number 3.
Okay, fine. I guess I'm going by like the actual rapping, rapping.
He raps later on.
Yeah, so then I'll call him villain. Anyway, whatever. So we've got villain number 3 here. I'll go with that. And he's basically kind of telling his standpoint of the game, where he's at, what his role is, what he's doing. You know, he kind of validates Doom as well. I like when he went 58 carats of glass, the Austin, blueberry black, where I keep my ice and knives at. And, you know, you kind of just get this, like, gangster-esque feel. He's a bad guy. He's trying to keep it going. But I do kind of see where you touch upon, where, like, he's giving us, like, tragic information of, like, what's happening in different places and, you know, things we should be aware of. But I think that's, like, part of their super villain act in hip-hop, where they're, like, instead of trying to just glorify this type of acts, they're trying to, like, take
Get
care of it.
people to like help and you know, do what they can.
And so I really enjoyed that. Now, the part that I really thought was cool was at the end, where there's this like little skit. The character Raekwon seems to be playing, and this is how I kind of took it, seems to have gone into a shot somebody or gone into like a shootout with the cops. And there
Classic
starts to
Ray.
there starts to be this the story changes once there's a gunshot from inside the house. There seems to be cops showing up, and voices start questioning like these creatures that they're seeing. So what I'm understanding is like these supervillains have somehow like maybe killed this like creature who, from the Genius annotation I read, it's supposed to be like the new rappers. Like the rappers, they don't seem to understand how they're making like new music and what it sounds like, and it doesn't sound like what Doom makes or whatnot. So they're kind of like baffled by these creatures, and then it transitions right into the next track. I gave this song a just give me a second here, I apologize.
Okay, so
4 on 5.
Yeah, it's just like that was funny. It's funny the way Chris just said there at the end. It kind of sounds like 10 years ago rappers sound exactly the same as the lyrical kind of guys sound exactly the same as they do 10 years later complaining about the new rappers. So just to show you, that worked real well, guys complaining about the new rappers. It worked so fucking well.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. It is pretty fire. I mean, you guys covered kind of the story point thing, and the skit flows like literally the start of the next song is like this skit of this song and kind of like goes in. But even the flow Raekwon has, it's like this upbeat kind of it's like upbeat and bumpy. Like you just got to start headbanging, like you're on some classic woo shit for a second, you know. But at the same time, it's like intense and ferocious in the way he delivers it. Like it's fierce, and honestly, the lyrics are interesting. Like I'm like a rabbi, fresh new mag and a mad high, stolen black jag, I brag fly, yeah, yo, a project thug, political gangster, starving Langston Hughes, who's like a poet from back in the day. The Jews want the crib when the God dies, I'm deadly, metaphors will dog you while I'm in the Forbes, first 500, who raw live, and like, I mean, you just get the sense of who he is right there. He's like in the hood. He's a poet that's trying to like get out there and do this. He's clearly inspired by the way Jews have approached this situation, and he's kind of like taking on that role of being like this almost leader of representing how to get fly and stay high, almost, you know. But like he just delivers it so well with such great intensity, and he keeps like pushing it. I like when he's like, I want that spot, coolin' with the Supervillain team, and all you other playboys is twats. Be down for the murder game, run in the church, grab a rifle, put one in a frame. I'm thirsty, hungry like a Somali, and probably with the waves, and they done in the tsunami. All we do is get fresh and fuck ma. Probably your baby gave me head in Barney's while I calmly, etc. So he's like fucking crazy, right? So, you know, he's like, his supervillain team is like insane. Like, he's like crazy. And I think at the time Somalia was the hot topic in terms of bad spots in Africa to discuss. So he's kind of putting out that he's kind of got that savagery inside of him, etc. And he's so fucking crazy. He's relentless enough to shoot you down in church. And everybody knows that church is supposed to be like sacred ground. Like, no matter how vile you are, you just don't commit this type of atrocity up inside of a church or whatever. Right. And whatever. And then meanwhile, he's so cool and he's so fly that your girl's going to blow him. Because that's always important to bring up. Then, yeah, the skit kind of really is interesting. Like, it's got some effects in the backgrounds. It's super eerie. It's super trippy. And it's just everything from the intro to the whole flow. It feels like a good episodic experience. I give it a 4.5 on 5. I really enjoyed it. You can say I absolutely really enjoyed it.
Beat walkers still get caught up in the crossfire. Get at the Sarge and give the orders.
So as Chris was pointing out, the skit kind of overlaps here. So now we have some cops that are under fire from Doom and his Pete's. Then he's kind of like, in his really singy-ish voice, he's like, I'm a body. But he's all, to me, it sounds like he's saying, I'm a body ya. Right. Like, I'm going to take you out, whatever.
But it also sounds kind of like say goodbye to ya, or like say bye to ya. That's what it is.
Mm.
And I got the sense that this song was a little bit of an anti-police anthem that's going on here.
I did find that this album felt like there was like quite a few political messages.
Yes.
That's cool. That's fair. For me, like, even at the beginning, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's an awesome fucking line. I mean, it's not necessarily original to Doom, but it's awesome.
It was a famous quote by John Emmerich Edward Dahlberg Acton.
Ooh.
Yeah. And if they get villains surrounded, then and then he drops in and like, good to the last drop, hood till the last pop, them bigot ass piglets. All right, we know we talking about racist cops right away and how they take out black folk. Go for the boss's dicks or higher. It's fucking savage, no? Like, right away, like, go over his fucking dick. Beatwalkers still get caught up in a crossfire. And, like, I guess you get the sense that he's right now putting it out. There's still this situation. It's still fucked up. And it's still, like, the police are acting in a certain way, you know?
Well, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like the others. It's like scene 2. So, Raekwon, you know, the villain was doing what he got to do, and then suddenly gunshots happen, and then we move on, and I think Doom must have been there, and now he's like, all right, well, let me tell my part of the story and what's happening with the shootout now. So you're getting like this,
like, kind of, well, yeah, because like Raekwon was doing his thing, like a robbery was happening,
exactly.
Right, and now Doom comes and rescues him. And that's kind of how
I think rescues him. I think.
No. Let's wait till the next track to go into that a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. This is where I think Doom was just there, and Raekwon. I feel like it's like this.
Because check it.
Look, hold on. I feel like Doom was there, and Raekwon may have just acted up, causing a scene.
I don't think that's it. I think like Doom is like the master commander, and Raekwon's one of his people, so he sent him out to take care of a situation, and this is all just part of the master plan because he's a super villain genius guy, right?
Right.
So he deploys Raekwon. Shit didn't go right, but this is the backup plan because the cops later on or at some point are talking about how they're getting shot at from outside, right?
Right.
So that sounds like it's too organized to just be like Doom was in the neighborhood. You know, like to me, when I pictured it playing out in my version of the movie,
I get that. I see that.
especially because this whole thing is like we hate the cops, so it's almost like they're excited. It's almost like they used Raekwon to get the cops there so they could lay waste to the police officers.
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
You know, like,
see that
and maybe
now.
I'm wrong, guys, but he does have this part, which really was one of the most fucked up things I thought I've ever heard in a song. Use stealth, play alleys, jet. We'd rather not alert them nosy federales yet. Keep the local random cases in each state. Escape to the breaches for the season and be straight. And on call, keep your Nikes tight. No white. Anybody tell get lighted on sight. So he has this little like underground army of people, and he wants to like. I got the feeling kill all cops randomly, discreetly, and like organized fashion because they're not ready to deal with like the top
movements.
level of
Seriously.
things. So like this guerrilla warfare of killing the cops
But it's,
and whatnot.
You know what? Now that we're talking about it, it kind of sounds like he wants to do what
A lot of people
systematically
want to
is
do.
happening. Well, systematically, what might be happening to the other side. If
But
you
on the
flip it
other-
around, like cops
Yeah.
doing it to civilians, systematically targeting certain people, certain
Yeah. And I
such
think
such.
that in his villain role, he gets to say things that certain people might be thinking, but in their non-villain roles, because the character they play is themselves, they can't necessarily get away with saying that. But Doom can always have, yo, it's my comic book character. He feels that way, you know?
Yo, relax, calm down.
But absolute
CIA, go
power corrupts absolutely. Now you have your orders, do your duty. A new way to let the shot spray. A few drops a day, double espresso. DA, District Attorney Latte. No smell or no taste. Hardly traceable. Wait to waste a prosecutor paid. Anyway, and it kind of like ends that pointing out how like there's clearly this almost new initiative for the cops seem to be like their daily regimen is to go out there and do this. So in exchange, the way he's coming, he has like the corrupt situation where he's gonna leak all the CO's addresses and everything so you can come fuck up their family and stuff. I gotta say it was pretty fucking savage. I thought it was really fun and interesting to listen to. It was one of the most clear and cohesive, easy to understand songs I've heard by Doom and like all of them. And I give it a 4.5 on 5. And then the end, I'll let Chris talk about the end.
No.
Okay, the end is a trap that was set up by Doom, describing by the cops as they're kind of, oh my gosh, we've been ambushed and this and that, and you can hear gunshots and stuff happening. And so in the first little skit, we have kind of the cops cornering him, and they're like setting up their perimeter and they're ready to go. Now shit's kind of more fucked up, and they clearly weren't prepared. They were talking like they were prepared, talking like they had the situation under control, and then it kind of flows into the next song.
I want to correct myself. It's not a 3-piece. It's not a 3-song.
No, I think it is over 3 songs. The
Because all right, we're gonna have a conversation and debate about this, but I'm
Okay, maybe
reading
I'm
my
wrong.
notes, and the next track is, and we'll get to that.
So, what do you feel about this song, Chris?
Well, for this song, I like it. I like the connection from the previous. I like how he's continuing that story. I like the conversation that it made that it's allowing us to have in terms of different, sparking different ideas, different views on how these fictional characters are playing out this movie in this album.
And it's got Madlib on it.
Right. I like when Doom went the ringers on a need to know basis, no person, places, things, and no faces. Like he's keeping everything strictly under control. He's the man who needs to know what's happening. You need to know when you need to know.
Yep.
And I also like the little tip he's kind of given, like wear gloves and strike in a city where you're a stranger. And it's like, you don't know what city you're in. You shouldn't be leaving any trail marks. But if you are going to, make sure you've got like covered up. You're not leaving. You're not being rookie about it in a sense.
Fair.
I gave the song a 4 on 5. The outro to this track, you get this interview of a cop where he's like explaining that like they got lured into a cage. The supervillains started shooting him up, and they like kind of how at the end it flips and I think Doom is the one who says it, and he goes kind of how the government or like the cops have been doing this for people for years, putting them in cages, putting them in jails and stuff. So it's really politically driven towards like cops and how they like I would assume like abuse their power and treat civilians, and how he would think that if he had the chance to be a villain, he would think that way. I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Cool. I found that the flow into this song was perfect, like from like the previous song, like into this one. It was just so seamless. He's kind of giving instructions for people to follow and lets them know that if they'll go to jail if they get caught selling crack, but don't worry, your family will be taken care of. And he's got people who will like help you out if you're in jail or help your family out when you can't. So he's kind of judging the police and the judicial system. Talking about, again, of course, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And he's kind of like checking the systems that be. He's kind of like saying what's going on. And yeah, at the end, he's kind of talking, or there's like the police or whatever that are talking, and they're clearly like from like the South, like Southern Americans, kind of talking about like catching like the bad guy and like all the stuff that was happening and whatever. And I thought that was kind of interesting and a nice change of things. So let's check out the rap ambush.
Cool.
Claim dies, click claim prize, and the lucky contestant was sent a whole year.
All right. I don't actually have as many notes for this. This is one where the production bothered me. Like, his voice was crackly, like he was too loud or too close to the microphone, and it wasn't necessarily engineered as well, which might be the point, and it might be like a throwback to a grimier, raw feel in hip-hop or whatever, and maybe that's like what he's supposed to be doing.
Right.
I happen to find it a little grating. The lines were cool, same sort of stuff. Like, it starts off with the skit, and the perimeter gets breached, and MF Doom's running in, and then rap ambush. So you get the sense that in the story, MF Doom and his squad is taking out the cops and rescuing Raekwon from the situation, and they're dealing with that. But this song is almost focusing on taking out all the whack rappers and shit.
That's why I'm a little bit confused in terms of the connection of the story. It's like, I could see the two verses, like Raekwon's verse on Yessir and Doom's verse on Absolute. I could see how they kind of tie into what like the scenario would be in the movie, what the like the context of the song. I feel like
I feel like, just to like answer that a little bit, it's kind of like, if you think about it, how they're supervillains. The whole plot is a metaphor for taking out whack rappers, right? So if you think about it, that's how I'm interpreting it, right?
Right.
So in a sense, this rap ambush
I guess if you
is
take out
kind
the
of
cops,
like,
you can kill the whack rappers as a supervillain.
yeah, and they're kind of, in general, I just took it like it's just kind of showing off, because although the bars are very militaristic and very it's really like his military bars are here, all the really heavy gunplay and all that shit. I mean, rhyming wise, not like he uses whatever. And I just kind of felt that there was a loose connection between this plot of this little mini story he was telling, but it was really just context setting. And then, hey, I set up an ambush over there. Now I'm gonna set up an ambush for the rappers and stuff, right?
Fair.
Liked when it was like, same guy, same disguise, sick aim, I stare at thick dame thighs, click claim prize, and the lucky contestant was sent a whole year's supply of buckets of yucky excrement. That is just a ridiculous way to put down that the person got sent a bunch of poop and said properly, but I didn't fully get the context of it because I was just kind of distracted by the flow and whatnot, but I also liked when he was like, RPG, rhyme propelled grenade, time to yell, scramble for cover in the shade. So his like lyrics are just kind of like an RPG round. And I also like RPG video games, so I felt that was a really, really fun line. I get it a 4.25. I don't know much more than that.
Nice.
Yeah.
The song, you got Doom basically kind of going after rappers, whack rappers, MCs who think that like they're either like copying his style or hating on what he does for XYZ reason. I like when he said, "Who told you that?" Rolled through brat, brat. Old to new knows who holds the hat, and it's like even Doom now in 2009 is still kind of explaining like, new rappers, new age rappers should be like respecting old heads who have been in the game for a while now. We know what is certain movements, certain game plans, certain ways to act. Like, you shouldn't just brush us off. And look what's happening today. It just seems kind of relevant. It was really cool to kind of just see that. He's flossing about being a better rapper. It was good. I gave it a 4 on 5. Don't really have much else.
Yeah, I mean, I took away that he's back and he's gonna kill it, and like anybody who challenges like him like will lose. Like that's what I took away from this, and that it's too late. Like once you're in it and your back is up against the wall, like he's gonna win, and that's it. It was a fine song. I give it a 4 on 5.
So because we're doing the bonus version of this album, for some reason they reversed the following 2 tracks on the bonus version, and I haven't even thought about this term since high school, so
I know why though.
Batty Boyz.
Eating glass, bleeding ass ran first. Fixing baby hair, messed up wavy curl. Under
Chris, why were the song orders reversed? Please, the suspense is killing me.
Part of being a superhero means you have to shit on the heroes. For what I understood to this song, he went after Superman and Batman for wearing suits. And
That doesn't answer why he reversed the song order.
I feel like after you do a rap ambush, you gotta have to gloat about how you're the best, and then calling the heroes who were supposed to like stop you a bunch of,
Okay.
that.
Okay, yeah.
So to
kinda
be
like
clear,
Ballskin.
what Chris is saying is he starts off taking some shots at Superman. Oh, shoot, get a load of that fruit. And high thigh boots, red tighty whities, and blue cat suit. Holy homos.
Been there.
Which is like holy blood ever from the Batman cartoons. Even the rats know it's tacky. You ever see me slip in like that, bitch? Just smack me. And what he's implying here is even the poor people with no fashion sense wouldn't be caught dead wearing the lame-ass outfits of the superheroes that we praise and adore. And I thought that was funny. There are a lot of homophobic, or not homophobic, let's say anti-homosexual comments on this song where I don't know that MF Doom could have gotten away with dropping this in 2018.
Yeah.
Like Ugly and still got hollers like Ron Jeremy, at least monetarily terribly. MCs need therapy. It's like a fairy spree. Hit him with the kryptonite brick. Children come and prick his dead body with a stick. That wasn't so gay one. I just kind of like the way that came out. I don't know. Sometimes I say stuff and my notes don't corroborate exactly what I was thinking at that time. Bick, now can I get my pen back? Got no enemy, got no friend black. Got with the green goblin, got the Batcave rob. Busting Batman's head, bobbing, slobbing Robin's knob. And you're like,
Great rhymes, though.
Oh, fuck, man. So that picture it's not really that surprising to go as far as to say it's kind of weird that a grown-ass man loves hanging out with teenage boys to the extent of Bruce Wayne. And, just having Batman blowing Robin there, just some imagery that you're not, but...
And what's his butler's name? Alfred?
Yeah.
Alfred walks in and
Mm,
sees them and
yep.
he's like, oh, well, I figured this would happen.
Or Aquaman sleeping with the fishies for real, for squealing. Aquaman's fucking fish now. I guess it's not something people haven't said before. Then he also kind of, he kind of implies that he's totally fine with men fucking men. Like he's not actually against that. Mm-hmm. But it becomes a problem when they try and attempt to go straight and raise the monster rate for the whole population and starting to affect the super pimpin' occupation. So the implication here is that AIDS is traveling around and being an issue because these gay men all of a sudden decide they're going to fuck a straight woman and try it out for a minute without a rubber, and then they're infecting it, which in turn is ruining pimping for good guys like Doom who just need to get their pimping on and shit. All I have to say, it's a creative song to me. It's a 4.25. Like I'm not hating on some of the concepts he's bringing up here, even though I could see how a lot of people might write this off because of the subject matter and the way it's presented. But it's really creative and interesting.
Nice.
Well, I'll be that person. So yeah, I mean, we know that, we learned, if you don't already know, that, Batty Boy is basically like an offensive term towards gay men, I think particularly, in Jamaican or in patois. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
It's patois.
Yeah. Talking about sort of like the gay pride parade and the use of the word gay, and how there's kind of gay guys everywhere. And he's not gay. He's making that clear. He has ladies that get in the way of his music because he's too busy having sex. And in the second verse, he's talking about the rappers that are doing more gay things, like taking their shirts off and like prancing around, I guess, or whatever, showing off and like working out and like being, I guess, more vain and like showy about themselves. And like also maybe like, I don't know, like the pants were like a lot of guys wear their pants really low, so like maybe it's like kind of like showing off a little bit.
Kind of he took some shots at how when you wear your pants out and your ass is hanging around, it stems from a fashion in prison where gay men would signal to each other that they wanted to be a little bit pounded by another gay man.
Yeah.
But I think that part of what he's trying to point out is that there's this lack of masculinity appearing in hip-hop, and this was his way of expressing
I think that he's questioning, I don't think that there's a lack of masculinity. Men, if this is what men are, then it is masculine, no matter how you put it. But it's, it's just sort of like...
I definitely think he's arguing with you with this song.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we would have some interesting discussions.
Just to be fair, I think he's doing it in terms of hip hop. Like he does clarify that he doesn't hate gay people. He's not like attacking them. But I think that again, in 2009, everything before 2009, from what I've seen and what we've heard is a lot of like heavy gangsterism, about the streets. You have your certain other songs the other albums.
What? If anything, all that really changed in 08, 09 is autotune, like the really influx of autotune.
No, what I'm saying is like
it's like 2002 or 3 is the start of trap music. If you really want to,
I'm not saying trap music. I'm saying like. Nowadays, I feel like rappers, like the new mumble rappers, if you want to call them that, they have a lot of like tighter clothes, chokers. Like I'm not calling them gay, but they're very more
showy,
showy like
Kanye
that.
Kanye was starting to wear dresses back around then,
right?
2009.
So I'm saying that like in terms of hip hop, maybe around 2009. There was signs of certain things changing that MF Doom is just kind of calling out right now.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's when the skinny jeans were starting to take over and a few other things were happening or whatnot. But in general, I think it's just kind of calling out that the general state of hip-hop is a little less masculine and about being a man in the way he understands it to be. Because that's kind of the last little...
I think he also has kind of more traditional views of being a man, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they're like it's not even just traditional views about being a man. It's just like what people perceive as being a man in his mind is not the same as how like these kids when their vanity etc. are coming in and they're not actually behaving like men. And I think that's his biggest concern in all of this is in their quest for these crazy fashions and clothes and this in his mind gay looking stuff. They're kind of overlooking what it really means to be a man, and that's the problem to him. Yeah, anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so that's basically it. He's just kind of like calling them out for being, their odd behavior, right? And, he's saying, I think he's also saying that these are things that he wouldn't do. But I think, he's obviously like, I'm a, tough straight guy, blah, 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 whatever. So, I mean, I guess it's him. And I just kind of like feel like it's not, I think like, when metrosexual style started showing and coming up, like, like it's... I mean, it was like a thing, when there were people who were like judging, guys for like maintaining themselves. And I think that, I don't know, maybe this is just kind of like his judgment of that. I don't know. I just couldn't really get behind this one as much as it, the message was clear. I mean, he wasn't being hateful. I just didn't like the message. And I did find it was even kind of like a trip just to listen to it. So I gave it a 3 on 5.
Nice. I gave it a 4 on 5.
All right, let's talk about Lightworks.
Name of the game is the Lightworks.
Corner could be the platform to meet the feet. Corner wonder, watch your mouth draw south.
Yeah.
Chris, tell us how you feel about Lightworks.
Don't have much to say, to be honest. It's produced really well. Jay Dilla did a really great production on the beat. This
is the Donuts one. It wasn't the other one. My bad, internet people.
It's got this, I kind of understood there's like this UFC wrestling in the rink type going on against other rappers again. Like he's going to take you in the rink. He's going to box you out with these martial art moves, so on and such the case. I understand that like light work is meaning to spark a spliff and start getting on a different level. So I think he's doing that and being creative. But I mean I gave it a 4 on 5. I don't really have much to say about it. The chorus itself annoyed the crap out of me. Like just the female vocal on it was just really annoying, and there was a certain loop in the track that it was just it was just there, and you're like, oh my god, okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
But I mean overall, I can't overlook the rapping skills. I can't overlook the production of the actual song itself. It was great. It was clear. I still gave it a 4.
Okay. I mean, yeah, the sampled song in this is called Lightworks. And it is sort of like a weird and like off-putting feature that like is reoccurring, and it just sounds weird when she does it. So I get what you're saying there. And he's kind of talking about the rap battles that he's had on the streets, but also about, I think, fights that he's maybe been involved in, maybe from like the drug dealing side of things that he's done. Yeah, I can't really decide if I like this song or not. I'm not sure. I give it a 3.75.
Well, I'm 100% sure I really fucking like this song. I thought the juxtaposition of that chick's voice and that kind of weird, creepy sample, and then Doom just being like, jerks, and then starting to rap and shit, like, it's just fucking proper. It came in really nice. The way the beat just flowed, it was one of those mesmerizing grooves that I felt I could just listen to all day and it would never really get boring to me, and that's really cool. The rhymes are on point, like curled up big and laying on the canvas instead of in the ready position like a praying mantis. Get it? Because they're kind of like, whatever. Scissors, landvis, grand fist sandwich, stand switch, slammed on switches, stitches, twitches, twitch hands, itch, damn snitch. I mean, I'm even having trouble reading it. It's just so good with the rhyming and the intricacy of his flow. And the way that he has this, like... Because you know what? The thing about Doom's flow that I haven't even touched on, really, it's that every word has almost, like, punch behind it, right? It's not like... Like, I know that sometimes when my sentences run on, they kind of drop off and they get a little bit slower like that. Not Doom. Every word Doom has is just punch after punch after punch. And it's just, like... It's this really enthralling fucking experience to listen to, I find. I like when he's like, watch your mouth, jaw, southpaw, outs floor, doubt your clout more, bout roar, outscore, baby, off the leash like UFC, off the beat, off your feet like two lefties. Oh my gosh, it's just like the way he flows it together and the way he can just do it smoothly and sound so clearly. And you got to understand, like, these are just not easy things to say so smoothly. It's not like he's doing a rhyme that anybody and their brother can just like pick up and just be like...
But he has a certain edge to it. I agree that he does it smoothly and he's very articulate and on point with it. But I feel like there's like when you were saying the about the punch and the passion and the energy behind it, I think that's how he can maintain that smoothness, because he's giving that energy towards it, to that like character feel to it, and then like also still spitting hardcore and
but
tight.
like on top of that, his flow is just crazy. Like he's offbeat in a way that's on point, but still able to he owns it. Like he just makes shit go the way he wants it to.
He's the supervillain.
I gave this one a 5. I was really blown
Wow.
away. I thought this one was constructed really well. It felt more songy than some of the other ones. It was really like a cool experience. You'll notice that both the J Dilla ones I've given a 5 to. Maybe it's the J Dilla influence on the beats that's really cool.
I don't think I've ever given MF Doom any 5s.
But yo, the next song, I think we're there. We've all given grades.
Yep.
Next song's fucking cool, featuring Mr. Ghostface Killah himself. Let's talk about Angelz.
It out of Albee Square, gun out, rapping their head, kinda crowded, so they clapped in the air, chasing the...
So this song is particularly fucking weird. So as I understand it, the second verse of this song is the first part of the story, and the Ghostface Killah part is the second part of the story.
Yeah, it's told in reverse.
So we start off, and you have Ghostface with this crazy energy. It was 3 white bitches who worked for Tony Stark's undercover agents far beyond narcs, amazed by their beauty, Wonder Woman bracelets, knee highs that was made by... Anyway, my dick got hard at how they spoke and shit, you know. So Ghostface has his 3 women, his Charlie's Angelz, these white chicks, and they're hot and they're sexy, they're really amazing, and they're his, and they go in harsh, and he controls them, and they work for him and stuff, and he kind of flows in and whatever. just sitting there, you listen to it, and you're kind of confused. Then you hear Doom's verse, right? And a whole bunch of stuff happens in like Ghostface, and he's describing just kind of how his girls came in and caused some havoc and shit. And then you're like, okay. And then Doom wakes up, and he had a threesome the night before with 2 chicks, and he feels like he's all entangled with stuff, but the girls aren't there. So he's kind of concerned that they robbed him. Right, because why aren't these girls here, etc.
Right.
But then the girls didn't rob him.
Right.
Which he was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then if I understand correctly,
they drugged him though.
Maybe, but
no, they drugged him because
what I took is that he went into the lobby after, and there was some kind of scuffle happening, and then when he went back into his room, it's almost like he gets knocked out. He gets bonked out, and then he gets captured, which then I felt led back into the first verse where it plays out that whole scene of these girls who have this guy tied up and all this shit's kind of playing out and whatnot, right? So if you look at the story, like Doom is the guy that the girls in the first verse are dealing with, and they're the girls who like take him out, because Doom ends the song with, but the question is, who's going to be the one that did it? But if you think about it, if the girls at the first verse are the ones who kind of took Doom and are that thing. Now I'm basing this off of like how Genius pointed me on this little goose quest, right?
And it makes sense when you really listen to it after. Like you got Ghostface Killah basically explaining he's got women who work for him, and you know they do certain acts.
But it's also like on top of that, like I like the way that, just to throw it in there, how the girls as they're chasing them down, Ghostface is like he's a rapist, a murderer, a convict, burglar. The more they ran, the more their skirts got dirtier, sending shots like Check Day, FedEx Expressway, boom, bow, bing. You heard the gunplay. Who shot that duck out on the window? Mr. Lee said. 3 pay now, you fucking weedhead. So out of nowhere, the girls are like banging, bang, bang. They're chasing him down because he's such a vile person. He's the supervillain. He's MF Doom. He's like the worst and shit, right? And then Ghostface people are chasing him down. And then just because you know how like Chinese guys will have ducks and shit in the window of the store or whatnot. So some bullets took out a fucking duck or whatever. And he's like, nah, come pay me now. You can't ruin my fucking duck. And that's how Ghostface ends the verse with that little fucking anecdote. And that was just hilarious. So yeah, it's a convoluted fucking interesting story. I listened to it a few times. I did my best to piece it together. Ghostface is phenomenal on this. MF Doom is phenomenal on this. The beat's really good, but not quite J Dilla beat good. So 4.5 on 5 for me. It was really fun to try to figure out what the fuck was happening on this song.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I really just took it as when I first heard it, Ghostface is just explaining his Charlie's Angels, and Doom being the creative, kind of wonky supervillain-y type that he is. You know, it kind of didn't surprise me when he was like, oh, my Charlie's Angels aren't here. Like, this is kind of what happened. I also kind of got a sense on his previous albums that Doom likes to kind of be alone a little bit, like be on his own terms. So it's not really a stretch for me to think like, you know, like he's kind of making a story about how this and this happened with these angels, and now he's trying to figure it out. But Holden literally told me, like, when you put it together, Ghostface robs.
Well, it captures Doom or whatever.
Right, and that was just pretty cool. I guess in a way, maybe it could be a prank. Is Ghostface supposed to be a villain? Like, just in context of the album, like, is Ghostface supposed to be a supervillain on the team?
Well, no, because he's Tony Stark's, right? So he's the hero. Remember? Because he's like a hero. He's not a villain. Okay. He's Iron Man.
Yeah. Well, I give it a 4.
He's got Stark Towers.
Yeah.
You know the guy in the suit?
Yes,
I know. Flies around. He's the best of the Avengers.
And you just shoot him in the chest and it's over.
I don't know what was going on this song.
Bonnie's like, okay, listen, boys will be boys.
You guys filled me in more than I could figure out what that was going on with this song. So all I knew that it was like, apparently it was told backwards, and that it was clearly a story about maybe someone getting shot, and something was supposed to be a mystery. Like, I didn't really get this like at all, and like I just assumed like the angel was referring to someone that was dead. Like, I was completely lost. I was like, I don't know what's going on with this song. I don't know who any of these superheroes are. I don't know Tony Stark.
You don't know Iron Man?
No, I've never watched it.
Just
Anyways.
leave it.
And so, like, I understand that there should be something more to this song, and it did sound 70s, so I get, like, the whole Charlie's Angels thing. And there was
Charlie's Angels.
Yes, and then there was, the line about Charlie's Angels, but I just didn't put it all together. And I was just a little bit lost. So I gave it a 3.5 because...
Yeah,
Okay.
because her brain cells weren't processing it right.
True.
Food will become a diminishing term. Nuclear power will be...
Right.
You don't know Iron Man.
So hold on. When I saw Charles Bukowski, like the author and street poet and shit, I was like, is that like another rapper, like a guy? No. MF Doom has Charles Bukowski here.
But he also calls him Mr. Chop, so I was confused about like who that was.
Well, wasn't Mr. Chop's the guy who was featured on the first
Mr.
part?
Chop is Charles Bukowski. If I
But
tried to understand
the
what
guy
was
who
going on.
like co-produced the first beat was Mr. Chop.
Yeah, but maybe he's also
But
Charles Bukowski.
but like that was a sample of the actual Charles Bukowski doing some street poetry with his social commentary.
Okay,
on
yeah, it
whatever.
definitely sounded like that.
So like, and then Doom put music under it, and then proceeded to rap some verses. But I'm pretty sure Mr. Chop is an actual producer.
Okay.
I might be wrong. Y'all can confirm.
There's too many
'cause
personalities and alter egos.
It's just not all of these folk have readily available information on the internet that makes it simple to find it, and I'm not the best with knowing where to look. Sorry, internet folk. But yeah, I just thought Charles Bukowski was so fascinating. Like, it kind of gives this ideology that almost makes sense for a team of supervillains. Like, we are born like this, into hospitals that are too expensive, that it is cheaper to die, into lawyers who charge so much that it is cheaper to plead guilty, into a country where the jails are full and the madhouses closed, into a place where the masses elevate fools into rich heroes. And if we look at Kanye West as the news recently and stuff, it's just case in point right there.
Jeez.
Depending on your point of view on Kanye, I'm a Kanye fan. And then, Charles Bukowski does that. MF Doom just starts rapping at a certain place. Then a cool voice is like, 3,000 years ago, Moses said every human being is responsible for his actions, or that being is still that beast, not yet human. And you get the sense that, like, Doom is almost, even just without Doom's bars, just the stuff he added to the song is questioning just the status quo of society and whether or not we are civilized, whether or not we are really people, how fucked up this system is, etc., etc. And then, Doom just does his rapping. I like when he's like a bad Samaritan, averaging above average man, rancid rants, having rambling savages, scavenging for scraps, perhaps roadkill if that, gift of gab, and he flowed ill chrome, stiff hat, no one for writing, lighting tight lines, chief, and beefing, being off deep ends, divine bright shines, even dimes, quiet as mimes by design. This rhyming is beautiful, but at the same time, he's kind of like putting him out there as like this savage person who's kind of has these almost political anti-establishment, not so popular like he would have. Like, if you take a look at just the nature of how Charles Bukowski is viewed at the time of his life, is in this grimier, like, he wasn't exactly a well-loved person. He was kind of out there and was a beatnik poet type. I don't know, he wasn't very cool. He was hanging out in like the ruffian parts of crowd. So maybe we praise him and celebrate him now. And I wonder if Doom is almost commentating that if in the future we're going to look back on him and his catalog with the same kind of reverence that we now as a society put on a guy who wrote classics like On the Road Again or whatever, So I thought that was super fucking interesting. I also kind of got the sense that this song was a little bit talking about the jail cells of your mind a little bit. I might be a little wrong on that. But I did like when he was like, word is bond, fix your clothes, put a shirt on, pants sagging, back when you used to meant you had a skirt on, squirts posing as thuggers and hustlers, illo closer than y'all ball, hugglers and jugglers. And I kind of think he's commenting again on the fashion of the situation. Like, he's not pleased with the way people are dressing and the way people are behaving and acting, and he's just not happy with things and whatnot. I really dug this track, but the beat was a little bit harder for me to get into. But really, as much as the Charles Bukowski part was interesting to listen to, like the first and the second time, it's like 90 seconds long easily, and I found it a little bit hard to get through. So I'm giving this one a 4 on 5.
Okay. And this is definitely the longest song on the album at 4 minutes and 21 seconds. So it sounds like another creepy beginning. There's clearly a story being told. He's telling he's kind of going through a poetic story. It's kind of like a bleak prediction of the world. This is obviously some sort of poem, obviously, that Charles Bukowski wrote. Out of the bleakness will come the new world emerging from that. So I think that he's kind of saying, even in troubling times, there will be a bright light. We can get through that, and there'll be something else, but maybe not the best. If you put everybody in this situation, maybe people are gonna reflect on that, and it's gonna show in the society, I think. It's sort of like his view of life in the hood and how things are kind of getting or maintaining, and kind of being scary, I guess, a bit. And kids are making bad choices that will end up with them in jail. And he's looking at the kids and seeing how they're pretending to be so tough and so hard and gangsters and whatever, but they're just kids, and they're being allowed to live this kind of shitty life because this is what they know and just what everybody else knows, and it just seems to be the thing to do, and there's not necessarily a right or a wrong in this situation. He's just kind of looking at it as kind of a loss, this sucks. And I think that he's going to continue talking about the issues in his community and what's going on, and I think it's a pretty fair and honest song. And at the end, I like that the superhero stuff that MF Doom is trying to transmit this message to us. He's trying to get us to see things and understand what he's seeing, what's going on, and that he is contemplating these situations and the way the world is, I guess. So I thought it was an interesting song, that's for sure. I gave it a 4.25.
Nice. I gave it a 4. I like the production on it. I like everything about the track. I just don't get it. I'll be honest. I didn't understand what exactly the message was. I did get some hints of development and change and needing better ways, but I didn't really understand it. But I give it a 4 on 5.
Okay.
Well, it's still dope,
True.
whether or not you agree.
My approach is lights out, buenas noches. Hold my glasses so I can get.
As we all have come to see, on the second half of an MF Doom project, he likes to have at least one song that is basically feminine or ladylike or something to that effect.
Yep.
And on this project, Empress Starrh, I'm not sure if it's pronounced differently.
Yeah.
Blesses us here with this. So we have another one of those evolving beats where the first part and the third part are similar, and in the middle we have a little bit of a change up.
Well, there's 4 verses, 4 different beats.
Okay, my bad. And then she just comes in with flair and style as she starts rapping some shit I'm still dope, rock a thrift store coat and a fresh pair of moccasin comfortable for walking in. No A&R marketing, which kind of reminded me of that interview we did with the dude. And he's like, I don't want no A&R marketing, just word of mouth, the street shit. If you hot, you're hot, and it'll just carry you.
Nice,
I'm not going out of my way to sell out. I'm just that real person,
Good.
And I loved it. Just you picture Macklemore with his moccasins and his thrift store coat.
Yeah.
I wonder if he listened to that, because he has those lines, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he ripped that off of
Walking
Doom.
in the moccasins.
Anyway, this is my reality, still dope, power walk, burning off the calories. And I just pictured her power walking up the fucking streets in New York. And
You go, girl.
I mean, I tried to power walk. Sometimes if you really, really push walking and you're basically running, it fucking hurts and shit. It's a respectable thing to do. I've just never heard it in a rap song before, so that was pretty interesting. I like the way she questioned the credibility and the integrity of others with signed away your publishing for Jordans and a Lucy, the old 1-2C solo, not groupie. And she's kind of just attacking the way people kind of traded off for the same old song and dance or whatever. And then I like when she's just knick-knack, paddywhack, fuck y'all critics, this time on the grind when it come to the spinach, conquered the id, vicious Sid flow, not an info, Empress official, she rocks mic, etc., etc. And she's fire and she's pretty good with it. She comes in with excellent flows, excellent delivery, excellent fucking energy. The way the beat keeps flipping up and the way she adapts herself, like the beat changes as she's rapping, and she does the tempo switches and everything without fucking up. Now, I got to give props to that because very few rappers will even fuck with that type of shit, and that was really cool and impressive to me. I'm giving this one a 4.5 on 5. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. I mean, I think it's, basically, you've covered most of it. Even if she's living easy, she's not like wearing like what people expect her to be wearing. She's comfortable and she still looks and is dope. Like she's not, she's basically saying like she's not selling out. She's not going to do what you expect her to do. She's going to rap like this. She's not going to do like, something that's necessarily girly or whatever that you would qualify that as, but like, something that, she's tough and she's, here to like play the game and like kill it with her rap, so I don't think that she's, trying to be all gentle and girly, right? Because she goes hard and she does what she does and she's great. And she doesn't really listen to like what the critics or the haters have to say. She's just kind of too cool for that. She's too dope, right? And so this is basically her song, and we don't really have MF Doom on here at all.
He does the beat.
Yeah. And I think he's just kind of there to like hype her up and promote her and like, and I'm always looking for, girl artists. So I think that's, maybe she's a good one to look into. So I liked it. It was good. I gave it a 4.25.
This is villain number 4. Villain number 4 is a female, and she's fucking tight. It is amazing to hear her flow and how she connects the syllables and how she connects the words together on the punches. I didn't really get much from this besides the fact that I'm really dope. I'm like validated. I'm not gonna stop rapping. A lot of the stuff we've gotten already, but she has it in a way where she's got that braggadocious attitude that like, I'm rolling with the Supervillainz. This is what I'm capable of doing. This is how I can make my movements. It was really cool. It was really great. I like one of the lines when she went, "Hold my glasses so I can get Riddick, send them home tail tuck, holding they fitted." I like the movie Riddick. I like that. I like getting that image in my head and being like, oh, she's about to slaughter some things. And I don't know if by fitteds she means like fitted hats.
I think so.
Right? I think so. But I just remember back when I had a fitted hat and like just how like they were all just like one size only, and it was just kind of like something cool to think about. I gave it a 4.
All right, let's talk about Mayo. That was in the microwave, but bunch.
Mayonnaise. His own way was strange, but it matters not. Tuned into a frequency.
It sounds like he's popping all over this track. Like, I mean, audio popping, as in his P's was no pop filter, or the studio he recorded this one at was not the same or something. And it really bothered me. And I don't know if that's artistic choice. I don't know, man, if it was on purpose or if that's like the goal of it. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's the intended effect. I don't know. I did not enjoy that. I did enjoy when he said tuned into a frequency tone that shattered rock, hold it down, like Shatner do Spock. Because if y'all know, William Shatner is the guy who plays Kirk on Star Trek, right? And this is the original series of Star Trek we're talking about. And
he's from Montreal.
He is. And Spock happens to be a character on Star Trek who is like the second in command. So Shatner, being the commander and the second in command, need to have a tight bond together in order to operate a starship effectively. And that is why that line is dope, because it made me talk about Star Trek in this moment, which, to be fair, original series is my least favorite one, but still, cool line.
And I'm the nerd.
And rapper jocks need to put a sock in their chatterbox. He's saying that certain rappers need to stop talking. Yeah, so see, paraphrasing lines. On Genius, I would get downvoted and it would say restating the line. I don't know. He kind of rolls through stuff. I like when he's like, she's too small, and he questions him. Could squeeze blood from a penny in a recession. Keep guessing, it gets deeper than depression. That's cool, right? Because a depression is like a recession in the sense of an economic standpoint. So that line itself has a double entendre that goes a little bit deeper than might be first noticed. And it's also kind of showing how when you're fucking broken shit, you'll be depressed. And that's the deep way that Doom does his thing. And then the power of suggestion, wake a sleeper, peep the lesson. So in light of all that, knowledge is power, buddy. And by being woke, as we call it today, it's a good thing. I don't know. He's pretty cool. I like Jem's collection of brats, Tim's. I failed there. Tim's and hats. No time for the pity pat. I'll give him that. The rhythm, the rhythm hit him back with a right hook. I thought that was cool, right? Just picturing like the guy's trying to murder the beat. The beat's like, no, you suck. It smashed him in the face. And shook it off, caught a shiner, thought it was an eye look. Depends on the shades, the end of the day fades. So he's like, okay, got a black eye, put on some sunglasses. All right, looks pretty good. I'm all right. And just keeps moving on. But yeah, it sounded like a worse quality song than the rest of them on this project. So I gave it a 3.5 on 5.
As we kind of have seen like throughout, some of his songs already, there's quite a lot of weed references, as there is in this one. And then he starts criticizing like other rappers, and he thinks like kind of all rappers sound the same, but he's sort of like, the one in a million, like the diamond in the dust kind of. And then again, he talks about, he criticizes the rappers that take off their shirts, and he thinks they're gay. And now that I'm hearing this more than once, I'm kind of like, are you just looking at them? Do you want to touch?
Do not piss off the Doom fans, please.
no.
But like he said it more than once, and so like that's kind of why. Like one time, okay, maybe, but it's like a thing he's focusing on. I'm like, that's really your issue. You just want them to put a shirt on.
But yeah, because it's a matter of what's popping, right? So as long as people like that are popping, guys who look good, guys who don't like how they look, who have to wear a mask, aren't going to have as much of an opportunity and a shot. And I think he's kind of pointing out that hip-hop is supposed to be this rugged place that's not really what you look like. It's about your skills. It's about your this.
Absolutely. And like, so, he's kind of got like that weird, I think his hair grows weird, and like he has some things that he doesn't, like showing off.
I think what he's trying to convey is, if hip-hop is moving in this direction where it's more important to take your shirt off and look like you have a buff chest to get the ladies to buy a record, maybe we're not really doing hip-hop the way hip-hop is supposed to be done.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe at this point in time, he's seeing a transition to guys like Lil Wayne taking over, and the way pop is shifted is not in a direction he likes. And so I would say twice.
And then it's kind of like The Voice, right? Like how you have to like listen to someone without like seeing right. Like the the person, and I think that's like pretty important, like with or without their shirt on, do they sound good?
Yeah, but sometimes you just watch the video muted.
But sometimes you just want to look, and maybe that's what he does. I don't know, I'm not saying that. Anyways, and yeah, I mean he just says it's kind of like when you microwave mayonnaise, like it's not necessarily something I've done, but I guess it doesn't taste quite the same, and I think that's just his criticism of the rap game at that time. So I gave it a 3.5 on 5. I thought it was a good song, but critical. That's about it.
I guess it depends how long you're going to microwave the mayonnaise for.
Okay. How do you feel about the song, Chris?
I don't know. I feel like he's shitting on himself, honestly. I feel like the track is MF Doom kind of like showing off his skills, showing off his talent, but as well like kind of addressing towards the fact that he wears a mask, that he feels like he's ugly, certain aspects of that. It was kind of slightly annoying to listen to. I don't know. It wasn't like the best production on it. But I do like how, he's still keeping that Supervillain feel to it. He's still being consistent throughout the album, but it landed at a 3.9. The song wasn't that strong.
So to follow up his anti-vanity message, he throws in some more rhyming.
He shot, not easily spotted, plot sees snot release, hold your insulting tongue.
All right, Chris, how do you feel about this one?
I enjoy it. I gave it a 4 on 5. It's straight bars. I didn't really get any message from it. I feel like he was just continue rhyming and just making syllable plays and just playing around with words and having a good old time. I think that as per following everything we've gotten so far in this cinematic album, or like how I look at it sometimes with MF Doom's projects, I think that the Supervillain's just taking a break. He's done his acts. He's gotten to a point where he's kind of just like, I need a minute to just clear my head, and I'm just gonna go crazy and say what I gotta say and just do that. And this is what it is. It was just a nice little, I think it may have been a freestyle. I think I kind of felt this little vibe to it that it was like off the dome. So could have been that, but it really was just pure bars. There was no, me personally, I didn't get no real message from it.
Okay.
4 on 5.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically just, him showing us some great rhymes and, that he's real and he's able to spit, whatever. And it just is cool. I appreciated the Paul Simon reference at the beginning. He also talks about that he gets laid a fair amount. So, you do you, boy. His art has made everything worth it for him. And like making this music has like really like changed his life. I think that's what he's saying. And he's kind of like cool and popular now. And he's kind of like, he feels different and he's looked at differently and he's kind of probably gained, another sort of confidence and, he's at another level. And I think, good for him. And he obviously has skills and, I think that's it. I gave it a 4 on 5. It's good and kind of him like reacting to his life now and kind of where he's at. And he's kind of a little bit astounded by that.
So it starts off with more rhyming. So that's, I think, kind of how he's branding that in his mind, more rhyming. It's just another way of playing on another day in the life,
Or more timing.
Pure diamond. Everything's good. It's gravy. It's going proper. Life is good. Tore hymen. He fucked a virgin, broke up the hymen. That's like the skin in front of the vagina, and you tear it.
I don't think it's in front of the vagina.
Well, it's like
not like standing there blocking it, like you can't come in.
That's how I always understood a hymen. It's like skin that blocks the vagina, saying you can't. I don't actually know.
I thought it was inside.
I don't
it was
actually
like
know.
a string that's
So this is a biology lesson on how little we know about hymens.
Boys.
Poor timing, and so it was bad timing, but it was a raw lining because it's a hymen, and he was raw and he broke it. That's the Paul Simon touring, so you get the sense he was doing this at a Paul Simon concert. I'm in, boring typing, snoring pipe when I'm hyper than 4 hype men, excited, writing, trifling times 10, long stay songs play haywire, wrong way, on the interstate, integrate all day. So you get the sense that this is some crazy shit where he's just living intense and he has these kinds of crazy experiences as he's going from city to city and he's touring and he's got this crazy life going on right now, as Bonnie kind of put it out there. Then you just got a lot of lines going on, stuff like hold your insulting tongue and mark his words well, or end up in the curb and shot by third rail, get the message by bird mail or turd flail. So, take him seriously, etc. Because if you don't take it by like the proper thing, what you're going to get is the equivalent of some little dookie in your face. Villain man, best friend male, you heard wail. An absurd tale of books, nooks, and crannies. Before she looked, he gave his fancy hooks and them granny pennies. And it's just like it continues on with this like barrage of just flowing through almost like this fantastical imaginative land of the MF Doom supervillain mixed with his actual life smashing groupies on the road and stuff. And I think it's a pretty cool and interesting tale. It flows super well. It's a lot of rhymedy rhymes. And 4 on 5. Oh, and he also travels to Paris at one point. And then the Black McCain campaign was a really cool one to me because as it really was, looking back, the Black versus McCain campaign. It wasn't really about Obama at that point. Negative debate-a-thon, gone wrong on the song Who's Zooming Who. He's kind of questioning just our intentions in that election and how things went down. 4 on 5, cool song, and that's that.
Y'all, mama was a hoe hopper, papa was a Rolling Stone star like Obama. Pull up.
All right, Bonnie. How do you feel about the That's That experience?
I think this is just him showing off what he can do and like how he can like kill it at his rhyme game. I thought, that's basically what this is. It's not really a story. It's just sort of, his flow, I guess, right?
It was like a little bit of a throwback.
Yeah.
I felt like there was like this song was kind of like a throwback to an older Doom. Like I feel like I got this reminiscing type feel from it. Like he's kind of just like going, he's slaughtering MCs and he's giving MC a rectal hysterectomy lecture on removal of the bowels for foul technically. Like he's still going at MCs. He's still going after this, but I feel like he's doing it in like an old MF Doom way. Like he's kind of thinking back of how he used to do it before being super villain. You know what I mean? Like that moment where like Mr. Supervillainz is kind of taking like, whoa, where did we go wrong? Like when was it crazy? I kind of got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it a 4.
I didn't get that. It was, The other thing, I just don't understand how it's a throwback. For me, it just kind of felt like it belonged right on this project. Like it was the same quality. It was just a little more rhymedy.
No, I meant the concept, like the vibe I got from it. Like MF Doom, the character at the moment throughout the song is kind of like spitting bars, but like throwing back to how he used to be crazy.
I guess. I mean, already woke, spared a joke, barely spoke, rarely smoked, stared at folks when properly provoked, mirror broke. Here, share strawberry morning. Oh, I get that because they're fucking a crack whore. Gone an important spawning, torn in, poor men swearing in, Cornish hens, switching positions, auditioning morticians. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just missing the point of this one. I feel like it's super rhymey, and maybe it is reflective of a younger time back when he was in the crack game or something. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I just thought it was pretty sick sounding. I liked when he was like sickest ninja in the century, Enterplea, lend sympathy to limper, simple Simon, rhyming MCs. And then I got this really fun, like, big pun feel when he went civil liberties with these little titties abilities, riddle me middle C. And it really, like, threw me back to the Capital Punishment album we talked about, and the way that pun would play around with those kinds of sounds as tongue twisters and whatnot.
Right.
I love the beat. I love the way he flowed over this beat. I don't necessarily know what the song's about, but I could listen to this shit all day. So I gave it a 5 on 5.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, I gave it a 4.25. I don't think I mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who's up for the posse cut? Supervillains.
Put on click fully auto. I won't stop the rock till pockets thick and gordo. More so I risk of sounding.
So, this one is the posse cut. It starts off with Posdnuos making fun of T-Pain, and he in rap genius.
T-Pain or P-Pain?
P-Pain is a parody of T-Pain, because you got to keep in mind this is when T-Pain's rise is coming and all of that sound of auto-tune is brand new. So they're parodying it the way other people we've seen just parody mumble rap. And Posdnuos, the one from the intros here again, and he's kind of singing whatever. What rhymes with shillin', villain? What rhymes with schmillin'? And he's just kind of making fun of how they do this shit with aimless rhymings, whatever.
Oh, that's why there was the auto-tune.
Yeah. And then Kurious does a really fucking cool verse. I like when he's like, set it off, adrenaline rush, the boys way beyond a pen and a Dutch. Stronger than he, a bag of the dust. You need to watch how they acting with us. So like their music is more, I guess, transcendent than the overall state of the drug industry, etc., whatever is popularized. Keep it on click fully auto. I won't stop the rock till pockets thick and gordo. Anyway, just it's more fucking. That's Doom coming in now. More to a wrist sounding poor bro. No tux who needs tickets to the award show. Normally cordial, more or less. Less is more or no. Hawk spit at the cockpit stuck to the window till it's a solid rock hit. So I got the feeling here that they're kind of like the weird, eclectic, like anti-pop group that's here that's coming out. Like they're fighting against it. Like they don't need these award shows. And if they did have it, it's not like they're going to come dressed in the right attire. He's going to show up in his fucking Doom mask and do whatever, you know? That was Doom's whole verse. That's his whole contribution to the song, etc. Mobonix is next. This is some guy I've never heard of. He grabbed the mic like 2 money bags, waiting for the getaway to count what he had. Thought he was a spaz. The dude kept walking. The crowd remote control, keep him all guessing. He's all right, but I kind of feel like it was a little bit less abstract, fuck with your mind, and a little more literal and flowed really well. Like it sounded good. He sounded like a villain and whatnot. He sounded like right on the song, but it just felt like a little bit weird. Then Prince Paul does like that like one little line that he says there in the interlude, and then Slug. How do we not talk about Atmosphere yet, or anything really? We haven't done any of them. We nearly did an Atmosphere project, but we haven't done one yet. So yeah, Slug is the guy from Atmosphere who raps, and he just comes in with this like completely clear and different style. Like it really was so distinct sounding as he's like pushing on the couch cushion, south side of Minneapolis, never lived out of Brooklyn, kept the faith, forget the name, if they sweat the name, let it set the lane. And frankly, I don't know what the fuck his verse was talking about. I just kind of gave you that with a
he's
sniff.
king shit, dude. Rappers candy butterscotch. I'ma let their baby mothers watch. She loves the awk. I touched the spot, bitch. I'm the itch that must have got up her crotch.
Yeah, but it was just like all things considered, it wasn't that hype.
I found it to be fucking.
I found that
like,
the lyrics weren't hype. The flow and delivery was hype, but the lyrics kind of made me feel like you're a bit of a loser. No offense to Slug, because I've listened to a lot of Atmosphere stuff and enjoyed it, but this was a little bit like, okay, your flow though, and you're tight. Like Slug is by far the tightest performer on that track to me. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was a fun and interesting flow. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. A good posse cut, all things considered.
All right. This sounds, it's definitely sounded more like a modern song. Like it definitely sounded like of the times, which I think is, kind of what they're criticizing. So I think that was legit. It sounds like less like raw than normal. So I think that's also, again, part of it. The beat was interesting and cool. There's a lot of like interesting references throughout the song. It does feel different. It does feel kind of unique, and maybe just because also of like all the artists that are like featured on the song. Like maybe it's just like, everybody's like, different style. It just kind of works. But at this point of the album, I was starting to feel a little bit bored. I'm not the biggest fan of MF Doom, so for me it was kind of like starting to drag on. But like it was still good. I still appreciated it. So I gave it a 3.75.
It was pretty cool to see how they interpret, like how they kind of presented this team of supervillains all together, having everybody got like a little moment of spotlight. Everybody did their thing. Doom, took over and did his like super captain-y type verse. I really like Slug. I like how he presented his verse. I like that line I quoted. Overall, I gave it a 4.5. Not really much else. It was a good song from what we've already gotten already.
Okay.
Who's open to hearing Bumpy's message?
I am.
Like somebody who really has a serious album.
Bumpy, or Freddie Foxxx, I think that's the same person, and he changed his name at a certain point.
Yeah.
Left a voicemail for Doom, kind of validating the fact that people hate Doom as a cool thing or whatever, and he's totally behind Doom's message. And when they flip the finger at the crowd and everybody's there, he's kind of bonding. Almost like this guy is really a little bit intoxicated, leaving this super like emotional, validating Doom, but kind of the weirdest version of that you would get in a voicemail.
Yeah.
And Doom's just kind of snickering in the background at parts of it. And I don't understand this really because I lack the context to know who this guy is or why it's important or whatever.
He's a well-known produced, at the time when I looked up, he's a well-known producer or whatnot. Somebody who like you would want to be working with at the time. And he's just kind of validating Doom in 2009. I mean, again, think about it. You're MF Doom doing your MF Doom stuff in 2009 when music is changing, which we've been...
Sure. But that doesn't make this a bit less weird. They just took this guy's voicemail. And
no, yeah, I'm not saying it's not weird. I'm just trying to give some like actual
that's what I'm saying. But like,
behind it.
I get all of what you said, but without me having any real understanding of who this guy is, it's just kind of aimless,
Yeah, but I think that's also kind of like a lot of his references are like that.
That's fair. Either way, I give this a 3. I was okay. I get it. I guess it meant something to some people. To me, it was whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, we have, Bumpy Knuckles or whatever. This is obviously a message left by him. Like we said, it's kind of just him like appreciating the art that, MF Doom is making. And he likes Doom's music, and everybody wants to be like Doom. And I just think it was a very sweet message from like, one of his peers. Like, I didn't know who it was necessarily, but I just assumed it was somebody who worked, like, maybe in the industry or wants to work with him and is kind of, a little bit sucking up, but also really appreciates him. I think he's genuine in what, his words are. And you hear MF Doom actually, like, laughing a bit as he, like, kind of plays, like, there's, like, a bass guitar kind of like under or over like the beat as well, and he just wants to work with him. I thought it was a nice message. I gave it a 4 on 5.
What it could be that the supervillain actually got captured by a superhero and he feels down in the dumps, and his friend Bumpy Knuckles was like, yo, listen, you got this, you could be the supervillain,
it's
you
a great
can do
interpretation.
This, right? Like, come on.
Okay, what'd you give it?
I gave it a 3.5. I won't listen to this. It's creative, it's funny, but...
Thank ya. What a beautiful little outro track on this album. So this is the last song. We've gone through the whole thing. And Doom puts together this little hip-hoppy little 1 minute or so cut. And it just literally is thanking us to being there. It's the credits. The credits are rolling, and Doom chose to thank everyone with appreciation for listening to his project. It just kind of has a choir sampled in like, thank ya, over and over and over again. And it's short and it's sweet. It's got a great funky little vibe.
Like picture people walking out of the theater.
Yeah, it's a 4 on 5. Really sweet little way to end the project.
Yep. 4 on 5.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it felt like, I mean, it was nice. It was like, I was appreciative that he was telling me thank you, but I don't know. It didn't really work for me. I don't know if I liked it or not. I found it was kind of like barely a song. I gave it a 3 on 5.
And
I gave it a 4.
All right, then the bonus version came with the.green.whore.net.
The Hornet.
I got the feeling he took the Green Hornet song and like mixed it up and like fucked with it. I couldn't find anything on this.
I just want to touch upon it's not spelled Green Hornet though.
No,
it's spelled green.
They can see. It's
right, but like I want to emphasize the horror.
Yes,
because
spelled,
I want to.
Maybe should have censored that.
This is. I feel like this is like. When you watch a Marvel movie and you watch the credits, there's that final scene. So this is what I think this is, kind of like.
But it was like added
next movie,
but
next
to
project.
be fair, it was added on the bonus track as just something extra. If it had been on the original album, I think your theory would be like valid. But he kind of threw it in the post cut. Like you had to get the special edition to buy it. Everyone already had the movie. People.
But why?
I think it was just literally to extend the track list of the bonus version to give
okay.
Because it's the bonus version, right? So we're talking about like the deluxe edition. So
right.
I don't know. To me, it just felt like an extra little instrumental thing. Like he had it lying around. He threw it in. It was cool. I thought it sounded pretty much as good quality as the last one I just listened to. Like it's not anything overly substantial. It's another 4 on 5. A good use of his production and probably like a throwback to a lot of his fans would really caring about it, considering the superhero-ness of it all.
All right. I don't know. I mean, it was a minute 18, this song. And like you're kind of like not really sure what's going on. It just sort of sounds like noise and music. Like it didn't really do much for me.
Well, there's cop
sort of
sirens and stuff's happening.
Just noise.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's sort of like maybe like a back and forth fight taking place. There's like some sort of like wrestling or like moving around or whatever. I don't know. But it was loopy. I mean, I guess it was creative. I don't know. I gave it a 3 on 5.
All right, so I guess that's it for this little review we've done. That's for you, Fluent Truent, who has requested this as part of our contest. I gave this project a 4.27. I liked it. Here's what I can say. I feel like Doom sounded cleaner and like the production overall was really good. But I feel like there was a certain depth or a certain ruggedness to the other Doom, the older ones we had, that I maybe liked a little bit more. But I didn't like the production as much on those older albums. So I feel like it's a good album. Like it's definitely a little more palatable, I think, than like say Food for like a newer person to jump on, like that Raekwon song Safe and whatnot. But like, yeah, it was good. It was fun to listen to. I imagine if I sat there and listened to it more, I'd come to appreciate it more still, but it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. Most of these tracks are really good. The ones with J Dilla are absolutely stellar, and so that's my little summary.
I gave it a 3.77, so for me it's not a classic. So it's a 75%. I don't know. I mean, it was, as much as I'm, like I said, I'm not like the biggest fan of MF Doom. I still like appreciate what he does, and he does do something that is like a unique sound. And like I don't need him to sound like he always does. He can change and evolve and do whatever he needs to do. But there was just something lacking about this one. Like it didn't have like the same. Like his last two that we listened to, like they had more like of like a oomph to them. Like there was something more. There was like there was maybe more cartoon stuff and more like of his weird personality. With this one, I didn't really feel like that. I feel like he was kind of more just criticizing. He was probably kind of a little bit maybe down in the dumps and was kind of seeing what was going on around him. And I think that's maybe also why he put on like the the message that, he was trying to like lift himself up. He's like, I'm gonna put this on here, I'm gonna listen to this, and it's gonna make me feel happy every time. I don't know if that's what he sounds like, but yeah, I mean that's all I have to say about this one. It was interesting.
I enjoyed the album, although I was kind of surprised when I got my grade because I gave it a 3.7 when I tallied up all the answers up. But I think that it's just, I like the creativity to the album and the characters and the fantasy and all this stuff. But I think that I'm lacking on the density part of the verses and understanding beyond just surface level is what's killing me with a lot of MF Doom's
That's fair.
projects.
All right. So thank y'all for watching. We really appreciate you being here. It means the world that you would stick through and watch out this review. Special thank you to Lindell Williams and Mozart, our patrons. And if you really like what you do and want to help us get a better setup and better equipment so it isn't looking and sounding like this, it would help us if you could check that out and do what you can to help. If you feel inclined. No pressure or anything. But you can also subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment if you feel inclined. And we would appreciate any of those things. Talk to us on Twitter. We want to grow. We want to make this a community of people who take the time to care about whole albums again, because I feel like that is something that is disappearing in this world. So thank you. Have yourselves a great week. We'll be back next week with Common B by request from our contest. Peace.
Bye, guys.